Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody all doing today? Hello, Mac. Hello, Hermie. Hello, Jean. And hello, Sparrow. Welcome to episode 13 of The Inferno. If you haven't been here before, The Inferno is a call-in show where I introduce a topic, give a little bit of background and my take on it, and then I reach out to you, my lovely viewers, for your opinions and your take on it. And usually that it will be revolving around a specific question, which we'll get to later in the show when it's time to get there. But today we're talking about queer people in horror. Now, if you want to call in later, how this is going to work is I will be sending up a temporary invite to my server. You'll hang out there in a call waiting room, and you'll be checked in with the staff. Make sure you're ready and that your audio quality is okay. And then you will then come on to talk to me. And then, so that way, even if you're not a member of the Discord server, which you should be, by the way, because you can join for as little as $1 a month, you can still call in even if you're not a Discord member. Hello, Gwen. Also, if you look down below, there's a little donation goal going on. Next summer, my good pal Mothra is visiting me, and we're just raising some money for the trip. Hello, Latte. So if you would like to contribute to that, please consider donating to my Ko-Fi, which is linked in the description, along with all my social media and my Patreon, which you can use to get access to my Discord server. And I'm gonna see about if you're just donated to the Ko-Fi and nothing else, if I can get a membership to you. If you donate to my Ko-Fi and you're not a member of my Discord server, just send in a little message just like, hi, I want to be on the Discord server. This is my Discord tag. I'll see if I can get you in that way as well. It's just a little baby gate to make sure everybody that's around is basically big beans and they're not making a bunch of spam accounts to, you know. It's going well, thank you. I'm out of Fresca though. Really sad day in the chat. I'm going to try to keep this one around 3 hours, so not too long. Let's kick this one off. All right. So the greater topic today is, why are queer people drawn to horror? What is it about horror that so many of us like? Because we have a bit of a history with horror. I don't think I'm the first person to say this, but we could get into the abstract a little bit. Queer people are drawn to horror and other transgressive forms of expression because we're made to feel as if our existence in and of itself is transgressive. Just for existing, it's always political or it's always dangerous or what have you, and that narrative has shifted a lot over the years, but we have never been able to exist neutrally. For much of the 20th century and even onward, the only place we've been allowed to express ourselves was through villains and through horror. This association and general feeling of being an outcast has led many queer people to have a fascination with the macabre. Unsurprisingly, this is also reflected in a more robust representation of queer people in counterculture movements than in the general population. So that's kind of a broad terms basics of our relationship with counterculture, transgressive media, and horror in general. So we have gone a long way. You think back to the 1970s when the gay rights movement was really starting to pick up speed. And one of the biggest surviving queer stories from that time, in terms of fiction, is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And that was very transgressive and heavily criticized, but it was loved by community members, and showings of Rocky Horror Picture Show are put on by various theater companies all the time. Like, I'm sure this past Halloween, if you're in the Anglosphere, there was probably a small production company, like a small theater company, that put on a showing of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, regardless of whether you like Rocky Horror or not, its influence in the community cannot be understated, as well as its influence on queer art, especially in forms of television, theater, and entertainment. I don't think we can understate the sort of benchmark that Rocky Horror was. And then if you look through time, you go from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the present day. We had shows such as Xena Warrior Princess. We had shows like, we had shows where queer people would be a guest star. Like one I was talking about earlier with some people was, In the House. RuPaul made a very short appearance uh, as a drag queen, but it was like, don't worry, guys. RuPaul, he is a drag queen, but he's a straight drag queen. And today you have it's so normalized that you have shows like Steven Universe where most of the cast is queer, which is a big deal. And that just wasn't the case. We couldn't do that, um, you know, even 10 years before Steven Universe came out. That was unheard of to make a children's show where most of the main cast was queer in some form. Now then, one thing that I would like to highlight, however, and I know she's kind of like a problematic figure now, as is RuPaul, but I find Ellen's sort of progress, and we're kind of veering away from horror and more talking about mainstream media, but this just goes to show how much pushback queer people got in mainstream media. So you had Ellen in the 90s. She had her original sitcom show that was kind of her breakout between 1994, and then in 1998 it was canceled because the main character came out as gay. It had been a well-kept secret at the time that Ellen was gay, but she had never really like said it out loud or told the general public. And then in 1998 she came out and the show got canceled. She had like a couple other tries at getting into shows and like one-off appearances in various like sitcoms and specials. But it wasn't really until she appeared in Finding Nemo as the voice of Dory that she was kind of rehabilitated. And then that came out in May of 2003. And then in September of 2003, she started the talk show that you are all probably very familiar with at this time, which is the Ellen DeGeneres Show. And that ran until 2003, until it was revealed that she wasn't the best person to work with. But it just goes to show how unacceptable it was to have a gay main character even as late as 1998, and how much that has changed, even in the span of 5 years, going from, well, we have to cancel her because she's a lesbian, to let's have a whole talk show where she's the host. And one thing that I wanted to bring up that I found was really interesting is last weekend I finally, after the prodding of many people and many friends, I finally, with a buddy, sat down and I watched the season 1 of the anime The Summer That Hikaru Died. And there's a manga for that. I haven't read it yet. I plan on buying the whole thing and reading it. But as I watched it, I was recognizing a similar movement that we had as queer people, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, was kind of reflected in The Summer Hikaru Died, where it's very obvious that the story is about this relationship between the two leads, which is Hikaru, who isn't really Hikaru, and Yoshiki. And there is sort of like this body horror aspect to it, but also discovering something and this question of tradition versus corruption, and duty. And it's just very fascinating, the reflection of that in what a lot of places in the West have already experienced. And in my opinion, still experience, because I still think that we are focusing a lot on horror, when it comes to adult media for queer people. There's something that it draws us. It draws us to, I think. Anyhow, that's sort of the opener that I had. And we could go on and we could talk about various different media. I have a bunch in the thumbnail. I had Death Becomes Her, Reanimator. I had Summer Hikaru Died. I had some Freddy Krueger in there. You know, so I had a little bit of sprinkling of everything. So we could go on. We could talk about all those individually myself. But what I would really like to do is I would like to reach out to you, my audience, and see what you guys all have to say. So the main question today is, as a queer person, what's a horror story that resonated with you as a queer experience? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, these two lesbians experience a horror story. Like, you've got something like Bly Manor, which is very explicit about being queer. And while I'm interested in hearing those too, I'm also very interested in hearing more about stories that are subtextual. You look at something which, again, it's not horror, but I think it's very important to bring up in terms of representation. You look at something like Xena Warrior Princess, where never was outright stated that these two characters, who I will bring up now, I think you should see them on screen, it was never stated that these two were in love with each other, but come on. Come on. These two, these are lesbians, Harold. um Anyway, but I will be opening up the call-ins now. So what I will do, we're going to grab an invite to channel. We're going to have it expire after 1 day. And we're going to copy that. And then I'm going to send it in the chat. I'm not going to put a limit on this one, but again, I am trying to keep this under half an hour, or not half an hour. I'm going to try to keep this stream under 3 hours. So we might not get to you. If you are on my Patreon, I think it's a devil or a demon lord level Patreon, you get priority queue, just so you know. So I'm sending that now. And there's a bit of lag, so. You're going to pop in, and then the mods are going to pull you for some gentle and fair screening. If you're somebody I've already talked to before, I might pull you into voice chat on my own. Let's see. I think I should have a, where did my private voice chat go? Here we go. All right. I'll pull you in as people kind of filter in. Here, let me see here. I think I can just do... I think that stage is going to keep going, or not. Okay, cool. All right, I think I figured it. Out. Or not. I think I do have to go back and forth. That's stinky. It's fine. think we have somebody that might want to chat. Let me just double check. Whoops. Close that for now. Hee hee. All right, perfect. I'm going to go to... Hello, hello.
Hello.
All right, I think everybody should be able to hear you.
Awesome. I'm happy to chat for a second to make sure that's all going and get some confirmation.
Yeah. I speak one more time for me.
Hello, hello.
Perfect.
Listen, ground control.
All right. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what you would like to talk about in terms of the queer horror story that you find relatable?
So I'm Book of Mac. I frequent Crim's server. I'm also the only real other social media I actually use is Tumblr. You can follow me there. You're not going to find that much. um, but I enjoy talking about lots of different things, and being a big dork about them. And specifically today, I would like to talk about Rocky Horror, as I am quite a big fan. And it's also literally this year is the 50th anniversary of the movie, so I figured it'd be a good way to kick it off because it's like so important as a historical point in horror fandom, in fandom in general, because that's also a big thing I like. And just like the queerness of it all is so baked in. And yeah, I'd love to talk about all those points.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get started then.
hmm so I'll give a little bit of my context with Rocky Horror. Actually, no. I will give people a basic plot synopsis of Rocky Horror because there's probably some people who haven't seen it. And I think it's worth doing that because Rocky Horror, I love it to bits.
Mm-hmm.
The story is not the reason people like it, but I do think it is worth like just doing a quick play by play for the structure.
Mm-hmm.
So Rocky Horror is about a young couple who've recently gotten engaged, who on the way to tell their um their uh, their professor, their friend professor, who for some reason is the first person they tell. They their car breaks down in the middle of the night, in the middle of the rain, and they go across the way to the nearest place, which happens to be the house of Dr. Frankenfurter, who is a mad scientist, and also beautiful, and we love him so much. And we get to meet lots of kooky people along the way, and it becomes a beautiful queer orgy in the pool. And then half the cast dies, and it turns out everyone's also aliens. Um, um, and then the house takes off into space with a beautiful rainbow behind it.
Yeah. I always
And everyone's irrevocably changed forever.
yeah, like they all discover something and it's very much like I'm interested but I'm kind of scared, and it's like it's
Mm,
it's it's pretty surface level, the queer analysis of it,
yeah.
of like going into this world that I don't really understand. I always find it interesting that one of the things Janet calls, oh, it's so unhygienic, which if you're familiar with the way that gay people were spoken of at the time is a really interesting
Mm,
way to describe it.
mm, exactly.
And Like, there's some
Yeah.
problematic aspects of it, but like, I
Oh
think
yeah.
coming from the
It is a
context, yeah.
Yeah, it is a 50-year-old piece of media, over 50 years old if you count the stage show. And I sort of want to talk about like the actual history of the show and its fandom
Hmm.
because I think that's really important to the story of Rocky Horror. So
Hmm.
Rocky Horror started out as a stage show that the writer Richard O'Brien came up with while he was like working like the small um what's the word, small theater circuit. Like it was like upstairs there was like shenanigans going on. Apparently the guy who played Rocky at one point got glitter in his shorts, um and that led to some bad things happening to things inside the shorts. It is a story that I have in my copy of the 50th anniversary playbill functionally that I got when I saw the live show. um and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. um But so Rocky Horror as a movie gets released in 1975, and when it releases in the US, it bombs.
Yep.
It does not do very well. So it was sort of considered a bit of a wash. It was also a movie made really on the cheap, but it's like very distinct.
Hmm.
Um, so it got popular on the midnight movie circuit, especially in New York. And for whatever reason, just a confluence of events, people started going a lot and people started yelling at the screen to make fun of it. Uh, because like it is a very silly movie and like it has a little bit of that British panto DNA, which is
Hmm.
also where some of the problematic stuff comes from. But that British panto DNA travels really well into the film, and there's like enough space for you to call out things like calling Brad an asshole or going say it during the anticipation bit. And I think that, along with the fact that people felt comfortable enough to start dressing up before they went in, it became very much a place to like, experience a lot of catharsis, engage in like some freedom of expression, especially in a time that was like just after Stonewall ish. Like it was very liberating, and no one had to really know. Like you were just going for a movie. That's all it was. And there was enough historic plausible deniability that this was like such a opening thing, like an opening gateway for people trying to, join the community, figure themselves out, allies to like support their friends, or just to make fun of a movie. And I think Frank's philosophy in Don't Dream It Be It is a huge part of it, because like as much as Frank is a villain in the film and does pretty horrific things, like he's funny. He's played by Tim Curry at the height of his powers.
Well, and even if he was the villain, everybody liked him, was another thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like he had the most fun. He had the most interesting delivery. I think it's something to be said that like I think every other character besides Frank gets insulted by the audience in some point in like the general um call out culture in the there's a word for it and I'm blanking on it, the audience script.
Hmm.
um so and that's been ongoing for like years now, right? To the point I went to my local Halloween one, or like October one, early last month, and it was delightful. I go by myself just because like I don't really have any friends who are super into it, and that's fine. But I got to talking to a older lady who was there and who has been to a bunch of different places, and she was like, "Oh my god, this one that we're at is the best. The guy who's the MC for the costume contest sounds exactly like Tim Curry, and he does. It's really fun." And obviously there is obviously issues, and I think that comes down to the fact that the queer community, the queer gay rights movement, queer lib, etc., have moved on so much from the time
Hmm.
Rocky Horror's come out, right? Like we had no rights in the UK. The age of consent was still different for gay men, right? It was still, I think, when it was legalized, it was still older, which I think is
Hmm.
like a super important point to bring up when we're talking about this, right? Um, whereas you now have this like it is a bit of a cultural artifact, and I think that's really interesting insofar as like how we're engaging with it, because
Mm-hmm.
like you think of it, because the other thing is there's not really anything that's replaced it, because like
No.
I think if people really, because like that's two things that are close but they've
Little
also kind
Shop.
of aged weirdly.
Yeah, Little
Little
Shop.
Shop is, I guess, also, yeah.
Yeah. But I
Because
don't
I
know
was
if it
even
ever
thinking not even in the
replaced it.
horror space. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like not even in the horror space, but like Hedwig and the Angry Inch, I think is very close in the
Mm-hmm.
musical space, because I think that's why a lot of people do like Rocky Horror, because it's not really scary. Is the other thing. There's like
Mm-hmm.
a scene, and like I think Hedwig is close, but it's maybe a little bit too niche, and that has aged in interesting ways. Um,
I think I
I love
think
that movie, but it has got bits of it that is like, I'm not sure what we're really that are like whatever. And like that's also like just the creator of that's drag persona that they've managed to spin off, and like I think they've since come out as non-binary or something, which is really
mm,
cool. And then the only other thing from there is like Priscilla Queen of the Desert, which isn't really
mm,
a musical, but also has some pretty problematic stuff, mostly regarding the dead naming of the character Bernadette in that movie. I think that's probably the worst stage part of that movie. And I say this as an Australian. I have that, and also the racism. Oh god, the racism! I block it out every time.
yeah.
um,
I
but
think that
yeah,
the difference with a Little Shop is actually it's the opposite, where it's a little too mainstream, I think.
yeah,
If
yeah. I'd
that
agree
makes
with that.
sense.
Yeah, like Rocky Horror has always been an underdog, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
is why it has persisted, because like it is the true one of the first cult classics, and it's drawing on like this back history of like B movies, which are sort of like I guess like early cult classics before video, before you really had like people watching stuff at home, um, all that kind of stuff. And I think there is a lot of really interesting like analysis of, and like obviously you have Susan Sarandon in this movie, who has gone on to become such a queer icon in her own right.
Mm-hmm.
We love her. um and and I haven't seen it yet, but there has been a documentary that Richard O'Brien's son has put out about the making of the movie and the response, and I'm super keen to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. And what's the other thing I was going to bring up? That's right. And I think going back to the fact that this is all a stage show, I think there's something really interesting in that people know that like other things that could be this kind of point in the culture, in the queer culture, right? Um, Start out as movies and then become musicals. Like the closest like that's happened with, for example, with that was what happened with uh, Priscilla. That's happened with Little Shop. Hedwig is probably the closest to Rocky Horror in that it started out as a musical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that these characters, like, even though like the movie is like this mostly the same cast from the stage show, with the exception of Brad and Janet and Dr. Scott, um, people are aware of the fact that these can be anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can be these characters. And like these aren't like classically trained singers either. So like the singing
Mm-hmm.
allows anyone to sing along with it. And it's great and it's really good fun.
I mean,
Um
I think I would
yeah,
push back a little, because Little Shop also started out as like this indie stage production too. It's just
true.
the movie came out so soon after that, I think is.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I totally get that. I'm more pointing out that the fact that it's based off another movie from like the 30s
Oh yeah,
or
I
whatever. It
just
had
don't
like
think,
baby.
yeah. I just don't think anybody pays attention to that version of it, really.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a fair cop. And I suppose, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to bring up specifically, or if there's any questions you have that I might be able to answer.
I mean, I do have one big question, but yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Rocky Horror, I suppose.
Hmm.
And now, one thing that I would say, as somebody that does go out to queer spaces now, um,
Hmm.
and I think this is again part of the draw of Rocky Horror. It's not just that it's a queer film or a queer musical, it's that when you go out to see it, you're in a space that you don't really have to, I suppose, justify yourself, because
Mhm.
there's a reason why I keep going to the bar that has EDM, even though I can't stand EDM, is because I want to go to a gay bar. I don't want to go to a regular one because I feel like if I went, I'd have to justify myself and I'd have to like expect a certain level of people not understanding who I am. Whereas,
Mhm.
if you go to a gay bar, I don't have to worry about all that stuff that I have to worry about in the outside world. And I think that Rocky Horror being what it is, you can go for a night out, you can go watch a movie just like you would go to a bar, especially back at that time, because again, remember, it's 70s and 80s and stuff. Um, you can go out to the movies and you don't have to explain. You don't have to like expect a certain level of people not getting it, if that makes sense. You can just sort of relax and just be
Mhm.
yourself. And I think
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I think that Rocky Horror was just the show version of going to a gay bar, you know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think there's even a space to which that, like, it is a bit more accessible than a gay bar
Yeah.
because there's no drinking.
Well,
And
also,
that's like always been like the contention, but with like gay bars as like the organizing space
yeah.
is that young people can't always enter when they need support, and then also people who like there's a lot of like substance abuse in the community due
hmm
to for very valid reasons, but like it's not always a safe place for those people
Yeah.
to meet. So I think Rocky Horror at least gives you like that feeling of community, and you do feel it, especially when people are calling out the big fallouts, or my local one gives you out little party blowers to blow when you can't think of anything else to say. So like just hearing the party blowers at various points is very entertaining.
Yeah. Being
um,
Going to a bar, you have to be very extra, like even if you're not drinking, because people go and they don't drink. But it's like to be involved, you kind of have to like go onto a dance floor and then like do dance floor things, and that's very intimidating to people. Or you'll like go
mm,
outside and hang out on the sidewalk watching other people smoke while you're if you don't smoke yourself, or like, and that's kind of how that works. And I feel like with a movie or a musical, you already have like an expected social script that is a lot more
mm,
accessible than the social script of going to a bar. I hate the social script of going to a
100%.
bar. It's But I go
Yeah, mood.
anyway. I
Like,
go anyway.
yeah, nah, I get that. I don't. My local scene. There are two main gay bars in my city,
hmm
and there's one a little bit further away, and it's the one that's further away is the one I prefer because it's a bit more chill. Um, and like I don't know, I like the vibes there a bit more, but it's such a trek,
Yeah.
so I don't go that often, which is a shame. But like I think yeah, I really agree with those points. Like I think there's and I've lost my train of thought. There's a lot of stuff in Rocky Horror that like lends itself to like this sort of social thing. And I think also the fact that there's parts of it you can also take home with you, like the
hmm
soundtrack. Like my first exposure to Rocky Horror wasn't the movie. It was hearing the time warp on the
Me too.
radio.
Me
And I think
too.
that's the case of a lot of people about our age and a bit younger, right? It's like hearing the song, like I don't know, I would hear it on like Friday night car trips when we were going to my godfather's for like a house party kind of thing, right? A little
Yeah.
gather. And I would be like, yay! Because like one point I was when I was talking about the unique voices, it was pointed out in a thing I was listening to a while back that like all these voices are so unique as well to like this sort of Broadway sound. Like
hmm
I like especially in the time warp, like you have Richard O'Brien's like creepy voice that then becomes a roar. You have Patricia Quinn's like beautiful smoky low voice, which like is so unique on the radio. And then you have Little Nell's beautiful high pitched squeak. And like they're so distinct, and like they're not like technical singers, but they're doing something really cool with their voices. And I think that's really fun to try and emulate or just sing along with, in a way that like singing along to something like, this is incredibly mainstream, but like Waving Through a Window from Dear Evan Hansen isn't really the same. Like you're trying to match tone a lot. And like I also don't like Dear Evan Hansen, so maybe it's not a great example. But it's I think there's something to be said about how movie musicals nowadays are so very produced, and it's hard to find
Yep.
something that is a little bit more.
Raw.
I use the term
Yeah.
raw jank. I love the term jank. I love things that are jank, and I think that's like fun, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I showed Rocky Horror during my like Halloween movie marathon, and a lot of it's like, yeah, that's what this song is from. Also, Meatloaf is there, I guess.
Yes, and we love him for it.
Thank you, Meatloaf. Thank you, Tim
I'm forever
Curry.
so sad that they didn't keep the double casting, because in the stage show, for those who don't know, Eddie is double cast with Dr. Scott. It's the same actor normally,
Ooh.
and but they don't keep it for the movie. So like, there's a universe where we could have seen uh, Meatloaf in a wheelchair kicking his leg out in fishnets.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would
to
have been
exist in that
lovely.
universe.
All right. My last question, I think you were done with your points, yeah?
Yeah.
What does horror give us as queer people that other media doesn't?
Ooh. Metaphor. I think horror is the home of interesting metaphors for queerness in a way that like sci-fi has sort of gone away with, especially in the contemporary moment.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy to an extent too. I think fantasy has a little bit more space for certain types of queer expression.
I think it.
But I think, yeah,
I think fantasy it often is dark, like horror fantasy,
mm,
when it does do that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Like I think of the fact that like, like I was having a think about like what intersex representation exists, and it's like fuck all, right?
Yep.
But if you're looking at like what could be an interesting metaphor for it, there's a lot of like born werewolf stories. There's like Carrie, which I think is can be read as an intersex metaphor. There's a lot of really interesting reads on that, and they're like not super mainstream at this point in time because I don't think there's as much scholarship on it. But I think like that is the only place where you can get some interesting reads in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, especially in the contemporary novel sphere, um, most other genre fiction has gone very explicit. And like
Yep.
that is also good. Like it's not a bad thing for there to be explicit representation, but there's a lot of power in metaphor, I find.
Yep.
And it allows you to be a bit more messy with it because like, you can't represent a whole experience
I think
based on one character, you know?
I also think that like that's why I like it. I liked Summer Hikaru Died because it is pretty explicit,
Mm,
but it's also a lot of metaphor. And then I look at something like The Haunting of Bly Manor, where it's also pretty explicit, but then there's the metaphorical stuff too. Um,
mm,
I do think I like that sweet spot, but I think to disregard all this stuff that had to be subtext because there wasn't really any other choice. I don't know. I feel like you're missing out on a lot.
yeah, exactly. And like it's a lot of it just does come down to personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think there's a lot of power in subtext.
Me too.
And like, yeah, and like especially in current year, in like the hub of where most of our media is being made. I think it might be worth looking back into putting a few more things or like engaging with subtext a little bit more for even just for safety. Um, because ultimately I want people to have good fun times or like get something out of the art they enjoy, and I think horror does a lot for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything to
Thank you for
plug?
having me. Um, Not really. If you want to follow me on Tumblr, I'm blogging a lot about the TV show Ghosts Australia, which is a horror comedy based on the British show. I'm also talking a bit about Deadlock because it's one of my favorite shows and it's coming back in March. Yippee!
Yay!
Otherwise, I'm hanging around in Crimcord. Feel free to ask me shit, I guess.
And it's Book of
I
Mac
did
on
see
Tumblr, right?
someone comment on my accent. Pardon?
It is Book of Mac on Tumblr, right?
Yes, Book of Mac on Tumblr. I'm in the Discord. Feel free to shoot the shit with me. I'm normally up opposite times to most people because yes, am Australian. So it's nice and early in the morning for me. So I've still got things to do. But yeah, thank you for having me, Krim.
Awesome.
Subscribe to Krim. Follow Krim on Patreon. Give Krim donations.
Thank you.
He
Thank you. All
deserves them.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, let me just check the queue. Okay, we don't have anybody in the queue yet, but I do have a couple people that I spoke to beforehand. I'm going to steal somebody. Get yoinked. Hello.
Yoinked! Hello.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello. I'm Sparrow. I'm a little sick. Please don't mind me. Which one? I DM'd you. Which one would you rather talk about?
Um. Oh, let's talk about The Shape of Water.
Ah, yes. Hell yeah. Okay. I have, there's a novelization of it, and also there's the movie of I have watched both the novelization and read the book. I'm a big fan of Del Toro. I love him, and there is an inherent queerness to monster smooching, and I want to unpack that.
I absolutely think that we should. Let's do that.
Okay, so the main character of The Shape of Water is a mute woman. So there's an inherent queerness to disability. It's because of it's because of the fact that we're not falling into the norms of the able-bodied cis heteropatriarchy, and the main villain of The Shape of Water is also the embodiment of the cis heteropatriarchy, which is an ableist concept because of the fact that I'm trying to find my words, because of the fact that being it's linked with eugenics. I'll just say that.
Don't worry too much about spoiling. I think if you're coming in for an analysis, kind of be okay
Okay.
with being spoiled. If that's what you're kind of hesitating, I think a lot of us have already seen it. A spoiler alert for a movie that's like how many, like at least 5 years old now, right?
It's around 5-6 years old, I think.
Yeah. But yes, so don't worry. Ooh, take it
Sorry.
easy. No, it's all right. I know you're not doing too well.
I haven't been well for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Here we go. But yeah, no, I definitely agree that there's definitely and it portrays the monster in a much more sympathetic light than I think, a lot of people would expect.
Del Toro does this a lot.
Yes.
And I really appreciate it because I think, is it Elise or Eliza? I haven't watched it in a while, but the main character finds empathy with the monster because she is just like him, or because one, they
They're
I'm
both
dying of the
made
plague,
to
yes. She
they're
sees
both made
himself in him.
Yeah,
They're both oppressed.
they're both made to feel like monsters in their own right. And it is Elise. Just FYI.
Okay. I remembered correctly. Okay. Um So the main character sees herself in him, and there is the empathy of the monster kissing is when when you when you're treated as a monster, you just feel like it and you
Mhm.
identify yourself with it. Max says Del Toro, I've always been faithful to monsters. The Oscar speech is very important to me.
Yeah.
Yes. For backstory, Del Toro, he saw Creature of the Black Lagoon and found a sensual, like aura to the monster. I'm pretty sure, if that's what I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely based on Creature of the Black Lagoon. Was this your first Del Toro film, if I might ask?
It it was. I also watched Crimson Peak after that. Crimson Peak was incredible, but there's no monster kissing there.
My first Del Toro film was Pan's Labyrinth. That one,
I
that one, oh,
I
it was
haven't
intense.
watched it. I want to
It's
watch it though.
it is a little rough, I would say, especially because there are some very frightening things that are happening to a child. So,
Okay, okay. I will watch it when I'm emotionally prepared.
mhm.
So, um,
Oh, be careful.
okay. So, have you watched Frankenstein yet? It's out on Netflix.
Like, which one?
Del Toro's.
Oh no, I haven't. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I will refrain then. I will refrain. It was incredible though.
No, it's
I
okay if you want to talk. Well, actually, what's today? Like, when did it come out?
It came out like a week ago.
Yeah, let's not spoil it then, because it's been
It's
less.
Rue. It's too recent.
It's too new. Um.
So let's just talk about Shape of Water.
Mhm.
So
Are you sure you're okay?
I am uh sorry.
It's
Um
okay.
so The Shape of Water, Elise, she uh she gets sexually harassed by the main villain,
Mhm.
and that's the main villain's the embodiment of the cis heteropatriarchy, specifically the white cis heteropatriarchy, who makes ableist comments about her. And she, as the main character, obviously we're supposed to root for her. And normally in a story like where it isn't done by Del Toro, this is usually the main villain's usually the hero, like a
Mhm.
little bit of a chauvinist, but he'll get over it, and blah blah blah. He saves the day by slaying the monster. But this isn't the story. We are supposed to identify with the monster as the audience as well, because
Mhm.
we identify with Elise.
Yeah, like we're
He's
very
also
much.
representing the government. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
He's part of the government.
Um. Yeah. So we're shown that this guy, and it's kind of, if you're familiar with Del Toro's work, you kind of see it coming, but I would also like kind of compare it to Beauty and the Beast in a lot of ways, where you're
Yes.
introduced to this chauvinist that is mistreating the woman. And again, in hindsight, we know how Beauty and the Beast goes. But
Mm-hmm.
at the time, there were so many stories about this sort of smart, this bright young woman who is butting heads with this chauvinist that is her superior. And we kind of get like a mixture of this taming of the shrew sort of story where he makes
Mm-hmm.
her more humble and or like he kind of makes her realize that she should be more in touch with her feelings, and she makes him realize that like, you know, he should treat her more gently and more softly, but it's treated as like they're going to fix each other. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in this movie you
It flips
realize
it.
that, yeah, well, you also realize that what's the creature's name? um do 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 like what's the guy that dug the fish guy?
I think he's called the
He,
Fish Man. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
yeah,
It's been a
it just says a
been a while.
humanoid, it just says humanoid amphibian on the wiki. So the fish man, let's just call him the fish man. You realize that they don't have to be fixed. The Fishman nor Elise need to be fixed. They're fine the way they are,
They're
and they can
they're
find love
mm-hmm.
as they are. Um,
Mm-hmm. And the fact that it is lampshading the idea that the military chauvinist, I believe the government branch that he's a part of is military. The military chauvinist is slaying monsters, saving the day, is flipped on its head. Cause like how many alien invasion stories have we had where to sort of shithead soldier like wins
mm-hmm,
just by his own wits and strength.
mm-hmm,
And
exactly.
this particular main villain is so afraid of accepting help because it makes him seem weak that his own finger that gets bit rots off when he reattaches it. He doesn't ask for any help until it's like gang it's necrosis basically. And
Mm-hmm.
it's disgusting, especially with the prose in the novelization,
Oof.
because like they emphasize how disgusting this man is, and there's more of a focus on the wife character in the book where she finds her um, own self identity away from this awful man. I really appreciated a novelization, but it's been a while. Like I said, you have any
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Have you watched the movie? I'm just gonna make sure that I have it. I think it's called District 9.
District 9? I've seen a couple of reviews on it, but not the entire thing. But yeah.
Not to
You don't have to worry about spoilers, by the way. I
interesting
don't
that I'm
mind spoilers.
seeing this, but it came out, I would think, I would say around the same time that Avatar did.
Mhm.
And the whole, you've got these little bug, you would like these guys because I know you like little bug guys. These little
I
bug
love bugs. Yep.
aliens. Look at them. Look at them.
Let me see. Let
Um,
me
no, it'll pop up and I'll also send it
a
to
few
you.
seconds.
Yeah. I'll also just send it to you. Um, these little bug guys. And they are this alien species that has kind of like landed on Earth and now are sort of like, I mean, there's like a lot of like racial um metaphors
Tension
there as well.
metaphors.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, they're cute. I love them.
But what happens is that the main character, who is a human, who is kind of a social worker to these guys, ends up, I think, getting bitten or like gets infected somehow and becomes one of them. And yeah, the prawns is what they're called. They call them the prawns. Yeah, and there's some, yeah, it's the metaphor is not subtle when it comes to the racial metaphor, but I think the fact that this guy becomes one of them, you know,
At
metaphors can
least
fit
some.
multiple different groups. So I
At
just,
least
go ahead.
I just want to add, Elise also like grows gills, if I remember correctly, and becomes basically one with the fishman. So I think there's a really neat parallel with that.
The reason that I bring it up is because I think that District 9 plays a similar sort of role as like it's lampshading a bunch of these movies and stories where there's like a zombie outbreak or an alien invasion or these weird monsters. Like Avatar is a good example, I think, or like again, a lot of zombie movies.
Of it being played straight.
Yeah. Whereas like this guy is being changed, but we're still like seeing things from his perspective, even as he loses the ability to speak and he loses his humanity. He's still like a person and he is still treated like a person by the narrative. Even though to everybody else he's like this inhuman monster. And I think that like I really like stuff like that in terms of like horror series. District 9 is kind of like, I guess, more sci-fi, but the body horror is pretty freaking intense, I think.
I'd say there's also a parallel with like interrelationships with like
interracial relationships.
interracial
Yeah.
relationships with monster kissing, and
Yeah.
as a biracial person, I really appreciate it.
Same here. But
It's
like, am
it's
I
look
crazy to say that like the Avatar, like the James Cameron, it does not read as queer at all to me. It never has.
it doesn't. Nope,
It's
never.
so heterosexual, even though it does have certain parallels. It doesn't feel queer, you know?
James, it is James Cameron, right?
Yeah.
James Cameron loved the man, but this guy cannot think gay in his life.
I mean, like, come on, he made freaking. No, I'm getting it mixed
Titanic,
up. Yeah.
Titanic. Yep.
It's.
He made Titanic. I appreciate what he did for like nautical stuff, but like, man,
Oh, hello?
hello.
Yeah, there we go. You cut out for a second.
What did I cut off at?
You appreciate him for his nautical stuff?
Yeah, but man can't think a smidge queerness in his life.
Absolutely. I feel like Peter Jackson has similar problems. Like, how did you make Gimli and Legolas less gay?
Holy shit, you're right.
Because Gimli and this isn't even horror, but like Gimli and Legolas, like in the books, are they're like, yeah, we're gonna spend the rest of our lives together. They're basically married, and they go back and forth between the Dwarf Kingdom and the Elf Kingdom, and they adore each other. But like they do this weird competitive thing in the movie that just wasn't present. I don't know.
I think he wanted to emphasize like the racial tension between the elves and the dwarves, but it
Even
didn't
though
work.
Gimli was like an elf lover in the books, he loved elves.
Alphaboo,
He is an
Alphaboo.
alphaboo. Yippee! The only alphaboo that is acceptable, honestly, is Gimli.
I love Gimli. Book of
That's
Mac
why.
says it's
Oh, go ahead.
Jimbo is not that great queer subtext.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
so
by Jimbo she means like James Cameron.
James Cameron. Yep.
Yeah.
I would say that a lot of the times interracial like relationships and queer relationships hold hand in hand
Mhm.
because like we had to fight for the right to marry people that we
Mhm.
love.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And it's like we'd still have to tangle with the fact that a lot of people don't appreciate it.
Mhm.
Or like go up to you, like see something's wrong, especially like of children of interracial people, like relationships. Um and like ask, what are you? Like so like bless their hearts. I know they don't mean bad, but like sometimes it's irritating, like how they can see how fruity you are sometimes. You've
Yep.
seen how I dress. There's something wrong with that boy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I, I can also relate to as somebody that at different points of my life have like looked more white or less white, and then
I'm
also being very clearly like not straight. Like if I was trying to dress as a girl at this point, like even when I was younger, I've shown people this, including I think I showed Sparrow, and I was like, look at pictures
mhm,
of me wearing a wig or when I was younger, and he's like,
that's a whole that's a
that's a
boy.
guy, that's a boy
That's
there.
a guy. That's a boy
I
right there.
I look like a boy even before I was a boy.
I got hit
And
with a beam though.
a beam.
Like my hair was long and then suddenly
Yeah.
like nature tried to fight back. And then I said nope and cut everything off.
That's how it is sometimes. But yeah, it's like you're always having to, and I think this goes back to what I was talking about with Mac earlier, where you always feel like you have to explain yourself. And you go into these spaces where it's like horror related or like it's transgressive, and it's like we're transgressive on purpose, and then you feel less like you have to explain yourself. Um in the story that you're telling. You don't have to be like, "Oh, I'm just telling a horror story," and people are like, "Okay." But I feel like a lot of like regular and like other genre fiction that's a bit more mainstream, they're like, well, okay, but why are you doing it like that? Like, what does this mean? What does that mean? It's like, why does it have to be like this? And I just feel like those questions you can kind of get away without answering them in horror. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Also, I
Mm-hmm.
will say plenty of queer creators have have incorporated their own experiences
Mm-hmm.
in um in their art creation of art. Like one of my faves, Clive Barker.
Mm-hmm.
I I've recently watched I think Nightbreed, that one.
Okay.
That was, while it was camp, I would say I'm looking up it now since I have a poor memory. But Nightbreed is interesting. And
I'm not
hang on.
familiar. I'm bad. There is somebody else that's coming on later that I think wants to talk about Clive Barker, but
Okay, I'll forego to them
oh,
because like I don't want to steal their thunder. Um, remember also Shape of Water has a uh expressly queer character with Giles. So
yes.
I'll go back to Shape of Water.
Yeah, let's go back to Shape of Water.
Giles relates to Elise because while he's apprehensive at first because that's a whole ass monster, and that monster ate his cat, but one of his cats. But he really he comes to find himself through his rejection and um acts like his outing basically
Mm-hmm.
as he finds to find himself in Elise with her relationship with the Fishman.
You know, I had like a crazy moment where I was like, isn't that guy played by Stephen Fry? And it's like, no, but he does play but Stephen Fry plays basically the exact same character in, is it V for Vendetta? Am I
Hi,
crazy?
Dylan.
I need to
I'm
check
gonna be
now.
honest. I was not interested in watching V for Vendetta.
Oh, that's fine. Am I crazy though?
Let me see.
Yes, he is. He is in V for Vendetta. Yeah, and he's basically
Okay.
he's a gay guy that's in the closet that is helping out Evie. Um and reveals him. He plays that character a lot though.
And
Stephen Fry does.
is snapping back against you and saying Giles is way different
Very
than the
different.
V for Vendetta.
Yeah. But it's like
It's an
a
archetype.
similar it's a similar archetype of this like older gay gentleman that's kind of reveals part of himself as a more direct metaphor for what the main character, not a more direct metaphor, but like the metaphor that the main character is going through. It's this guy, he literally is just that. So
For in for Giles, his poor guy misread signals and basically got humiliated, outed, and banned from his favorite restaurant. And it's period typical, yes, but like that sort of thing shapes Giles as a character when
mhm,
it happens.
mhm.
And it says like one doesn't get murked by the government.
This is true. This is true. Sorry, I'm just Stephen Fry pilled lately. I've just been thinking about him a lot.
I know what you are.
He popped up like we were watching Bones, and he pops up on Bones, and I was like, my neuron was activated because I remember what he looked like in the early 2000s. Anyway, um, but yes. Was there anything else you wanted to mention about Shape of Water?
I felt like I was very like
Thorough.
what's the word? Not thorough. I'd say it was we went on tangents, but
Yes, we did. Okay, one or like do you want to circle back and talk about something specific?
uh hmm. I think we covered the queerness of The Shape of Water. I was going to relate it with Frankenstein, but I don't want to spoil it for you nor your audience. But watch it. Watch it. It's on Netflix now.
All right. Um my last question is same as my last question for Mac. What does horror give us as queer people that other media doesn't?
I'd say it's a safe way to explore things we're afraid of, yet are drawn to.
Mhm.
Like we don't want a hate crime, but it's just there's a danger to horror that we're allowed to experience while being safe in our bedroom or safe in our living room and exploring the queer subtext of horror and finding empathy and care put into it, especially subtext. Like
Mhm.
you feel appreciated somewhat.
I would say I agree with that. Do you have anything to plug, Sparrow, my boy?
Yes. Yes. I'm making a cosmic horror visual novel that's gay.
And where can people
I will.
find that?
Uh, you can DM me, Starry Sparrow, on Discord for the link to the the Discord server for Threads to Oblivion. And I also will drop the link in self promo in your server.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you later.
Bye bye.
You gotta die of the plague a little bit before you leave.
Yeah. Listen. Listen. Sometimes I get sick. And sometimes it's for 2 weeks.
It is what it is. I'll see you later.
See you. Bye bye.
All right. Let me do a little checky on my queue. Bam. If not, we might take a short break because there are a couple people, but they're like, I will be able to in a second. So we might take a short break. So let me just check who's around. All right, perfect. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Can you introduce yourself and let us know what you want to talk about?
Yes, I am Gwendolyn. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm here to talk about how horror media helped me, like, figure out what was going on in my own head related
Amazing.
related to uh, me being trans and such.
Perfect. All right. So is there a specific piece of media or piece of art that was like cracked your little egg?
Not anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so how I interacted with horror in general that's helped me.
Gotcha.
So, for a little bit of context, baby Gwendolyn was very scared of everything.
Mm.
Like, it's. I'm not joking when I'm saying that one time I got scared by my own shadow.
Aw.
So, I was afraid of a lot of stuff, and I was also just afraid of being afraid. Like, the idea of being scared of something was scaring me.
Yep.
But also, for some reason, I was drawn somewhat to the stuff that was scaring me. Like, it's very silly stuff. Like, I loved Spider-Man. He was my favorite superhero, and I loved the Sam Raimi movies. But one of the biggest thing I was afraid of was spiders.
That's interesting because now I know that you like characters with like multiple arms and spider-ish themes. So that's really
Yeah.
interesting to me.
So also, yes, I guess me saying that I was afraid of a lot of stuff. If people who know me watching this stream might think that that's a bit odd because boy oh boy do I like scary stuff now.
Yeah, like you're one of the people that has been trying to get me to play Fear and Hunger, which I have not played yet, but I will. I promise.
Very fun game.
Uh, also, yeah, this is I'm just showing art that I made you on screen. So like, despite being afraid of spiders, has commissioned me to draw her little character who has 4 arms and multiple eyes. So that's something that I find very interesting. Are you also afraid of gambling?
Very much so, yes. I like
But
the aesthetic of casinos.
yeah, no, those are good.
But
All
yeah,
right.
I also really liked Halloween. In general, it's my favorite holiday. Wouldn't you know, that's also the scary holiday.
Yeah. Um, I feel.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
yes,
Sorry. Go ahead.
but so like I got anytime I would find something new that was scaring me, I would uh start thinking about it a lot, despite even if it wasn't something that I liked, I would be thinking about it and it would occupy my mind
Turn
to
it
the point
around
where
in there like a microwave.
yes, despite being afraid, I was fascinated by the stuff that scared me. So the same way I stopped being afraid of spiders by essentially learning stuff about them. And now that it's one of my favorite animal, I love spiders. I would essentially do exposure therapy on myself with horror media. Like, okay, I was very afraid of this fucking stupid creepypasta. I'm going to just consume a bunch of stuff about it. And then I ended up being desensitized to it and just essentially learning what was actually scaring me about it.
Mm-hmm. And you say that this kind of helped you figure out that you're trans and stuff in a way.
Yes, because I um so after knew that there was definitely something going on in my head. Like, I didn't hate the idea of having to be a man, but boy oh boy did I think a lot about being a woman.
Yeah.
And so I would have a bunch of those, like, moment where I'm thinking, and it's like, is this normal? Should I look into this and that? And so in the end, I just ended up the same way I figured out the stuff that made me scared, and to the point where I understood it, and now I'm very fond of it. I started to learn a bunch of stuff about queer culture and stuff like that, and it helped me figure myself out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that like I can relate to that a lot. I think when I was I've told this story a million times, but like I wasn't I was pretty clockable even before I came out, and the fact that I had like gay parents, and then like my dad and that side of my family was involved in like fundamentalist Christian stuff. I had a lot of hangups. I had a lot of hangups about queerness and gender. And
Hmm.
for me, I felt like at one point I staked so much of my identity on being a tomboy, but I'm still a girl, girl power, yippee, the girls can do whatever they want. And I was so resistant to the idea of like I guess, examining that and why I had such strong feelings about that until I like actually developed some insight, it was like this big scary thing that I didn't want to talk about with anybody.
Yeah.
Um but it was like, ooh, that gender stuff over there, a little bit scary. I came out several times to different degrees. I started telling a couple individuals when I was 14. But I didn't really make an effort to live as a guy until I was 19. And by then, like, my life had fallen apart because I'd been repressing it for so long, and it was like this big anxious mass in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can relate to that at all.
Not really.
Yeah. But how did yeah, I don't know. I guess like how did your journey reflect your experience with horror? It was like there other things besides just the fact that you know, you didn't know much about it, so you learned more about it, understood it, and then began identifying more with it, or
Well, outside of that, there was also the fact that mm, after I realized I was trans, a lot more of horror became more appealing to me because
mm-hmm,
I like was like, despite the fact that I was fascinated and by it, I would still say that horror was my least favorite genre.
mm-hmm. It's so weird to hear you say that.
Yeah. But yeah, after figuring that about myself, a bunch more of horror media that I wouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole became way more appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that's the one we talked about real quick, but like, if you were to tell me a few years ago that I would play Fear and Hunger, I would ask you how you got a time machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but, but yeah, no, and so I just got more interested in. I got more open to consuming horror.
Yeah. Yeah. Like seeking it out and everything.
Yeah,
Was there any like specific one you wanted to talk about or any other specific point that you wanted to make regarding all that?
I guess I didn't have as much to say as I thought I did.
Oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. I guess my again, same question. What do you think that horror gives us as queer people that we don't get anywhere else?
I think. Hmm,
If you don't have an answer for it, that's okay.
yeah, no, I don't.
That's all
Sorry.
right. That's all right. Well, thank you so much for chatting, Gwen. Do you have any like social media or anything to plug?
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel that I barely use.
Um,
Uh,
feel
you'll find it by typing Gwendolyn is stupid. Only spell stupid with two O's that are actually zeros.
perfect. Um, Milena does have a question for you. What horror movie or story or game changed your mind? Like, was there a specific one?
God, it's going to sound silly, but I'm gonna say Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's all right. That's all right. You don't have to be embarrassed. I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's appeals a lot to queer people,
Yeah.
and I'm not really sure why. It's a very
Um,
gay fandom.
yeah, but some other game. It's mainly games that I really enjoyed. That I really enjoyed after figuring myself out were obviously Fear and Hunger, Little Goody Two Shoes, or Mouthwashing, which is very recent.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Gwen, and you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye
for having
bye.
me.
Of
Bye
course, of
bye.
course. Bye bye. All right. Anybody else in the queue? Is it? I hope it's working correctly. Okay, we're just gonna go move to. Hold on. There we go. We'll just go invite to speak because I think for some reason the stage isn't staying open when I leave it.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
All
Hi.
right. Hi, can you
Hang on, let me
introduce
switch it to
yourself?
speaker again. How do I get this back on? Oh God. I found it. Hello.
Hello.
Yay, I'm getting a little bit of a delayed echo on your side, but yeah, it's no big deal. Hello.
Okay.
Hi everybody.
Yeah. All right. Are you sure that you don't still have the stream going?
I had the stream going on my computer, but I paused that as soon as you answered here, so
Perfect. A lot
yeah.
of people are filtering in. Yeah, I think for some reason I thought that it wouldn't, but the stage closes after
Yeah, it closed for me a
I
couple
leave.
times.
Yeah, so I'll just stay in here, and I'll still make people go in through the my gatekeepers to make sure that nobody's going to explode my microphone
Hell
or explode
yeah.
my
You all heard it
speakers.
here, folks. You all heard it here. Crim is pro gatekeeping.
I am. I'm very openly
Yes.
pro gatekeeping. So can you introduce yourself
So what's up?
and huh?
You said I can what?
Introduce yourself and let
Oh, I
us
am
know what.
Milena.
Yeah.
What
Only
what?
35 sentences. Jesus.
No, I'm not 100% sober, but it's okay. What's up?
Yeah, introduce yourself and as a queer person, what's a horror story that resonated with you as a queer experience? Whether that be
Ooh.
subtextual or textual.
Okay. So I am 38. First off, I am a millennial.
Yippee.
Hello chat. Yippee. Good to see you guys. Um there's something about like the larger theme of horror. Like I was autistic before the internet and or at least before there was high speed internet. So
Same.
what you did back then was instead of like finding articles to help you with stuff, either you had somebody who would show you things or you would go to a video store and just start going through all their shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were lucky enough to have a video store nearby, which was literally just some guy who'd made it his life hobby to collect obscure and foreign movies and like limited edition, hard to find shit. And he opened his collection as like a rental store so people could check out things that are hard to find otherwise. And that store was open for like 10 years. We were very lucky to have it. But because of that, we got to see a lot of really weird shit. Like we got to see the French extreme horror phase, which really escalated a lot of things and led to a lot of I do think it kind of went hand in hand with the whole rise of like the Saw wave. But French horror has always had this specific interesting style to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels very French. Like French horror has a very specific mood to it when it gets to a certain level.
I
Um
I feel as if French horror's influence in Canada for a lot of like our like horror film festival, or like the horror films that end up on the film festival. I think, I mean, that's not surprised that, you know, French media has a
mhm.
influence in Canada, but yeah. No, have you seen
Yeah.
Antiviral, for example?
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
That one's made by Brian Cronenberg, which is David Cronenberg's son. Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh,
I'll
that's
have,
right. I didn't see
yeah.
that one, but
Oh.
Possessor is one of my favorites, and I loved Infinity Pool.
Mhm. Yeah,
I loved
I saw.
Possessor is almost explicitly a trans movie. Like
Mhm,
it's so just direct.
mhm. I
Imagine
feel.
imagine a situation where essentially there was a machine where you could invade someone else's mind and take over their body and essentially set up elaborate assassinations where the victim would also be the one framed for it because the person actually controlling them wasn't even close.
That's
And the
insane.
woman who's slowly losing herself to that work. Like that's Possessor. And
Um.
it's got some really nice surreal depictions of like kind of losing your mind
Mhm,
and blurring the lines of what's real and what's not. And as you get further into the film, it just gets trippy in a really like body horror kind of way without really
mhm.
digging into the body horror of it. More of the horror of your body,
Yeah.
like being in a body, right?
Uh. Yeah.
The flesh,
Antiviral.
as
Antiviral is
Cronenberg.
really similar in that way, and it's also like. Do you know the? Do you know the? You're not familiar with it at all, yeah?
No. I
So
like to keep
base.
myself like fresh from spoilers of any kind if I've decided I'm going to see a movie, but like I just haven't had the chance to see Antiviral.
I'll give you a little taste. I don't think it's just the concept. The concept is that you uh can get infected with a virus that a celebrity once had. And there's a whole big industry. It's like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the main character is one of the people that like delivers those
Oh,
viruses. And the idea is that it makes you feel closer to that
so
celebrity, and it
it's
makes you feel like you are that celebrity in a way. And there's some gendery stuff going on, I would
yeah.
think. I think is fair to say. It gets intense.
I wouldn't be surprised because there was a lot of very gender stuff happening in Possessor.
Hmm.
But I was gonna say there's what I was leading to with the French stuff was it's interesting how you can see the DNA of that movement perpetuated through current stuff, right? Because back then you had movies like Frontiers and High Tension and Martyrs and just these things that took the concept of horror to just really intense levels of stress. And I was so into that. I was an adrenaline junkie. But it's propagated into just really uh, weird violence. And the one that really gets me is a French movie called Titan.
I
Or if
haven't
you're going to
seen,
be
but I'm
American
familiar.
about it,
Yeah.
Titan.
Yeah.
You're familiar?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it.
So okay. So the infamous part about the movie is that genuinely, really seriously, truly, there is a scene in this movie where this woman fucks a car. That was what it was infamous for, because people were like, "Oh, this movie's gonna be so crazy," and like, of course, you have to see the movie where a woman fucks a car. Like, that's what the fuck does that mean? Um, but the thing is, in the movie itself, it's kind of a surreal scene, and it's pretty short, and there's a whole rest of the movie going on around it. And that movie, how light do you want me to keep details since you're going to see it? I will happily screen it for you in your
No, you're
server. I do not care.
you're absolutely good. Don't worry about spoiling things for me.
Okay, I will go lightly into the premise for. I'm just going to go into the premise for anyone else watching. I'm not going to do like major spoilers, but um, there is essentially a woman who is clearly an outsider, is very femme in the way that they are presenting, and um like they're a showgirl at like car shows, right? So she's posing on cars and stuff, and that's what eventually leads to that scene. But like, she is very antisocial, and when she gets social with people, she gets violent, and that leads places. But she clearly doesn't have a good relationship with her own family, even though they're rich and everything. Like, there's just no connection. And at one point, she just leaves it all behind and goes off to figure out a life on her own. And she needs to be on the run because she has committed some crimes. Um, yes, this movie has be gay do crimes. It's good. But what she does is she goes to a police station, looks at the missing posters, finds a poster of someone that she thinks she kind of looks like, and then goes out and like cuts her hair off. I think she even breaks her nose on a sink just to get it looking more like the other thing. And they call this missing person's dad. And the thing is, this kid has been missing for years. So it's long enough that they could say, like, oh, well, you look a bit different because you've grown a bit. But throughout this movie, there's this motif where he is absolutely convinced that this person is his son. And to the point where he is essentially loving the protagonist and being supportive of the protagonist and trying to take care of the protagonist when the protagonist doesn't even want it. And throughout this process, there's something happening where, um, well, she's pregnant, and the body horror of it is that she has this thing that doesn't seem to be human, that is literally splitting her skin as it grows over the movie, and you can see the metal underneath. And it's weird because she literally uses a binder to hold it down.
That's
And she's
fascinating.
living as a guy and finding more support and like camaraderie and actual like connection with these. Her dad's a fireman, so she goes with him to the firehouse and is like trying to help out, being like learning how to be a medic and stuff. And she barely ever talks. But there was one thing where she oh man, there's someone at the firehouse who, yeah, she was in a car crash when she was a kid and she had to have a plate put in. Um there was this one point where one of the guys at the station is like snickering at her, or I guess presenting as him at that time. So, and that's one of the weird things about this movie too. There's real gender fuckery going on, but it's also about like loss and grief and finding a place and like love. And I don't want to spoil too much. There's just, as the story progresses, you learn more about the dad,
Mm-hmm.
and that leads to a lot more complications and stuff. So that's from the ending. So but yeah, it's a remarkable movie. The first time I saw it, um I was like kind of nervous about where it might be going and what the characters would end up doing. And it was that thing that we're like, first time you watch something, you don't know what's going to happen. It's a unique experience. But then once I knew what was going to happen, when I watched it the second time, I
Mm-hmm.
swear to God, the whole thing had me crying like for almost the entire way through because it was just so beautiful in its own way about outsiders who just don't feel right amongst other people, amongst their gender, in their body. Like, it's an incredible vehicle for that kind of metaphor that people can relate to in different ways. And it's really a great example of something that I think is uniquely um like horror is uniquely empowered to do, which is explore experiences that most people might not relate to or understand.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of body horror depicted being similar to gender dysphoria is, a cis person can't understand what that feels like. So what if you take a movie that has a cis person as the star, but they experience a different kind of dysmorphia, right? And maybe it's even about gender, but that's just one of the things that horror can kind of help people understand the feeling of. Like, I like anxiety horror as a way to depict like neurodivergence and the
Mm-hmm.
anxiety of like trying to figure out what the fuck people are talking about when they all seem to be in agreement about something insane, and you're like, wait, what? I what are the rules? And then you try to do it and you fuck it up. Like the recent comedy Friendship with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. It's
Mm-hmm.
technically a comedy. I think it's a horror movie too. I don't think people like, you need to, like, if you watch it, it's interesting how horror beats and methodologies can be used in other kinds of movies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think horror is a lot broader and more applicable to a lot of things beyond just being blood and gore and violence. Horror is like a mood. It's like dread, or I don't like jump scares because it's just like, okay, you got my body to react to standard danger
Yeah.
instincts. Good for you. But building a sense of dread.
Yep.
Dread is that's that Silent Hill shit, that's my jam. That's what I want.
Yep.
But yeah, Titan is a very, or Titan is a very fucking, it's a subtextually queer movie with stuff that's like borderline explicit as far as trans stuff, but it's like the same way that She's the Man is kind of a trans movie too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's someone basically posing as the opposite gender without fully transitioning, but also getting that perspective. And um, the trope is used really amazingly here. Oh god, climax is anxiety fucking kino. It's climax is a fucking. Oh, Krim, have you seen Climax?
I have not. I'm a fake
Okay,
horror fan.
but yeah, before we move on to that, real quick, so have you? You said you want to see Titan? You want to like?
Yes.
Well, what do you think? I gave you my brain juices. What do
I
you?
abs I
How do they look?
absolutely I will probably watch Titan like I have a subscription. I can see Cannes Film Festival entries on one of my streaming services, so I will probably be watching it,
Okay.
if not tonight, this weekend.
Awesome. If you want me to host, I can totally do that.
Oh, okay. I'll think about it. I'll think about
I'm
it.
happy to do it. If you want to do like a watch party somewhere or even in my server, like I am down. Just let me know. I bought that movie. I watched it a few times. It like
Nice.
it's one of those movies that devastates you but also heals you.
Yep, I love those
That's
kind.
it's special.
I love that shit. I love it.
Is that
And
your
we
jam?
also
Is that your shit? That's the good
we all
shit.
now I will say take a little bit of a moment here to say that we have movie night in my server all the time to the audience out there. If you want to join in on movie nights, it's not just me who hosts it. We have like a whole team of people that are always hosting something or other. Like there's always something going on. So if you're interested in watching movies with us or playing games, if you join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, you can get involved in that if you would like to. Um, Now, my last question for you, and you kind of answered this, but I'll be a little bit more overt. What do you
I got a lot of
think?
thoughts. Feel
It's
free.
funny because you're the one that helped me with this question. What does horror
Oh,
give
nice.
us as queer people that other media doesn't?
Oh yeah, that was part of what I was talking about. I I think that there are certain experiences that are difficult to convey to people who don't have them otherwise, right? Um, whether it's through the language of like the camera itself, or it's music is generally the cheap way, but if you have someone who actually gives a shit and knows what they're doing, you can do some really incredible, just experimental type sounds to invoke really interesting moods. There's one particular song from uh, the Jordan Peele movie Us, where they're walking around on the beach, and there's this kind of disconcerting cello sound with some
Mm-hmm.
like discordant string picking, and it's really good at just creating a weird feeling. Um, but horror kind of explores those things in unique ways because jump scares are cheap because it's a very specific kind of anxiety, right? It's just one, ha, I got you, like. But if you can understand the different kinds of dread, the different kinds of fear, there are so many different ways to be afraid of something that's around the corner or slowly walking towards you because of what it represents. And if you take the time to build a movie that has that kind of metaphor or representation like tied into it, you can make some really interesting shit. Like Possession is a great example of that, or Possessor is a great example of that. Titan's another. I think the Ari Aster movie Beau is Afraid is one of the best movies I've ever seen because it depicts a genre I like to call autistic horror,
Yep.
where it's like if you have autism, like there's that thing where you don't understand what people are asking of you or why something is happening, but somehow people seem to think it's your fault and you're just trying to figure out what to do. And they won't fucking be straight with you about it, or they'll tell you one thing and you think you followed it, but then like it's abuse, right? It's really rough. And Beau is Afraid takes that not only as an explicit dynamic between him and his mother, but just in the really surreal way that he's interacting with his surroundings and how people interact with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it is horror that's built up around the concept of anxiety. But to Ari Aster, this is a comedy. So it's also a very fucking funny movie. It's hilarious. But like there's one of the main things is that he lives in a big city. Um Yeah, social anxiety horror is also a good label for that. Um, the thing is that, like, just to give you an example of one of the things, he lives in a big city, and it's very much like the Tenderloin in San Francisco. If you know what that is, you get it. I don't know what the equivalent would be in New York, but like, just you go straight to where you're going. The homeless issue is especially rough there because of the drugs. Like, I saw reviews from people who were like, I don't like how Ari Aster portrays homeless people, and I'm like, you have obviously never been to one of these places. You don't understand. Especially if there's like one guy who has it out for you and chases you into your fucking building, and like you just have to get in time to slam the door behind you. But he he takes a medication that he needs water for, and at that moment the water for his building goes down, so he can't get sink water, and all of his water bottles are empty, and he doesn't have water in the fridge, and he looks at the label and it says absolutely do not take without water, and then he googles the medication, and the results that come up are like, a father of four died from taking the medication without water. So he's looking down, and there's like all of these you know d- d- a bunch of drug addicts just out on the street doing their thing in front of his place, and he's just like, oh god, this is okay. So he braces himself, puts a phone book, like goes back downstairs, puts a phone book to hold the front door open, and just goes across the street real quick and tries to buy a bottle of water. So he gets the water, he takes a sip, he takes the pill, he's okay there. But he's like 15 cents short, and the guy's being a hard ass about it. And he tries to charge his card, and it's declining. He looks back, and literally every single homeless person on the street is walking, like they've opened the front door and they're just filing into the hallway and going into the elevator. And you see, like, he's still stuck down there trying to like get this transaction over with, and you just see in the windows all of them have gone into his apartment specifically and are just fucking shit up,
Wait, why
not
did
just breaking shit, but just like doing their thing up there. Like, someone's smoking a crack pipe, there's like a couple of people fucking on the couch and stuff. There's one guy, like, there's a meme of something that one guy does both times. It's really funny. I'm not going to spoil that, but that's just one scene. It is some Looney Tunes shit, but at the same time, it is a deeply haunting and devastating portrayal of like parental abuse and like fear of the world, and like a lot of themes that have been pretty iconic within Jewish American cinema, right?
Yep.
And it's so good. It's so original and interesting, and what it portrays is so spot on.
Yep.
And I took my dad to see it. I took my dad to see this crazy ass movie because like he's the reason I'm into movies.
Uh-huh.
And like some people be like, why would you do that? But I had a hunch. And um at the end of it, he sat there stunned.
Yep.
And he kept on just like he was thinking about it, and he kept on saying like, you have to know what that's like to make a movie like that.
Yep.
And essentially where that conversation eventually landed was, he said he had never seen a movie that had accurately captured what it was like to be abused by his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Beau is Afraid made my father feel seen in a way that um no other movie had made him feel seen before. And there's a lot about it that is depressing, but it's also a very funny movie. And it, it's worth seeing at least once, because it is an artist like doing something to express something very deep within him. Um, and it is very unexpected. It's impossible to tell where it's going, and like spaghetti spoilers, Jesus.
No, that's okay.
Oh
That's okay.
God.
I have no context for that, but good to know.
The fact that it's in there alone is a massive surprise, no pun intended. But no, seriously, uh it's a crazy ass movie. And that's actually is a pretty huge spoiler. Like that's not
It's
I'm
fine.
not
It's
happy with that.
fine. It's fine.
But
It's fine. It's been out for a while, and we're a analysis channel. It happens. It's okay.
I mean, if you want to be an analysis channel, we can dig into this because this movie is so full of like mother trauma. Like it's,
We
but that's
won't
also a
be.
really, really
Yeah.
amazing horror. Those two are at half of my fucking favorites on Letterboxd right now. The 4 favorites.
Nice.
Uh, but yeah, it's an incredible work of art, and I think that it does something that very few things do, and it's like a very good example of an artist using horror as the vehicle for expressing a certain type of anxiety and pressure, that is hard to depict in a normal movie or a normal story, because people will be like, oh, it's unrealistic. But since you have the boundaries of fantasy, which is limitless, you don't have to stick to like trying to make a realistic story necessarily. It just should just be a coherent story. And then you can put other stuff into it that's more subtle, that evokes a feeling that like maybe it's a nightmare you had about your own trauma that you used as inspiration. Like, and something that's able to invoke that feeling will connect to people in a way that they might not be feel seen by as much as they would by something like, or no, they feel more seen by that than they would by something that's like just telling a similar story to something they went through.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think horror is a beautiful fucking storytelling vehicle, and I think it gets a bad rap because people just see like The Nun or The Conjuring 4.
The horror slop.
Yeah, the mainstream horror slop that like it has its place, but like for people to think that that's just what horror is, nah.
Yep.
There's so much more to it.
Now, do you have anything to plug or any social medias to link?
Um, on YouTube, I am Ms. Milena, Mzmilena. I am currently working on my first video essay, which will be a deep dive like massive deconstruction of the rise and fall of Kanye West and what made him what he is today, and like what that means in the context of like society, how society treats um, non-white people who clearly have a problem. And there's some racial analysis that's going to be going on there as well, but also like just looking at how people get radicalized and fall down those rabbit holes, and what we can learn from that whole experience just by like extending enough empathy to at least understand the journey, not give them a pass for any of this shit. So
Yep.
like it's going to be a tricky balancing walk, but I'm an ex Kanye fan, and I feel like I'm equipped with more information than most to
All right.
like understand this, and it's interesting to me. So Ms. Milena, and on Twitch, same thing. I occasionally hop on and play games on the weekend, and it's fun.
All right. Thank you so much, Melina. It's always great to have
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for letting me rant.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Before we get much further, I do have somebody waiting, as you can see. Something that I pulled up that I actually forgot to get to before we started was, and I have a feeling that the person that I'm going to have on next might want to talk about it a little bit, but we'll look at it now. This is the original Comics Code of Authority. In all of the things that outline it. So I'd like to go through the list. This is the complete code as it stood in 1954. Crimes shall never be presented in such a way as to create sympathy for the criminal, to promote distrust of the forces of law and justice, or to inspire others with a desire to imitate criminals. Scenes of excessive violence shall be prohibited. Scenes of brutal torture, excessive unnecessary knife and gunplay, physical agony, the gory and gruesome crime shall be eliminated. Criminals shall not be presented so as to be rendered glamorous or to occupy a position which creates a desire for emulation. Policemen, judges, government officials, and respected institutions shall never be presented in such a way as to create disrespect for established authority. Here we start to get interesting, a bit more outright. All scenes of horror, excessive bloodshed, gory or gruesome crimes, depravity, lust, sadism, masochism shall not be permitted. No comic magazine shall use the words horror or terror in its title. All lurid, unsavory, gruesome illustrations shall be eliminated. Inclusion of stories dealing with evil shall be used or shall be published only where the intent is to illustrate a moral issue, and in no case shall evil be presented alluringly, nor so as to injure the sensibilities of the reader. In every instance, good shall triumph over evil, and the criminal punished for his misdeeds. If crime is depicted, it shall be as a sordid and unpleasant activity. Scenes dealing with or instruments associated with the walking dead, torture, vampires and vampirism, ghouls, cannibalism, and werewolfism are prohibited. Profanity, obscenity, smut, vulgarity, or words or symbols which have acquired undesirable meaning are forbidden. Females shall be drawn realistically without exaggeration of any physical qualities. Suggestive and salacious illustration or suggestive posture is unacceptable. Nudity with meritocratic purposes and salacious posture shall not be permitted in the advertising of any product. Clothed figures shall never be presented in such a way as to be offensive or contrary to good taste or morals. Nudity in any form is prohibited, as is indecent or undue exposure. Illicit sex relations are neither to be hinted at nor portrayed. Rape scenes as well as sexual abnormalities are unacceptable. Sex, perversion, or any inference to same-sex attraction is strictly forbidden. I think there's a typo here on the page. Seduction and rape shall never be shown or suggested. This is overtly banning like horror and villains, but it's also banning sex, and more specifically banning sex abnormalities, which is like being trans or being gay. So these have been hand in hand for a very long time. But this went on until the 1960s and 1970s. The code there was like an issue with somebody's last name being Wolfman, but it wasn't, so. But the code really got updated in 1971. Suggestion but not portrayal of seduction was removed. Sympathetic depiction of criminal behavior and corruption among public officials were kind of given a bit of a leeway as long as it's portrayed as exceptional and the culprit is punished. The clause suggestive posture is unacceptable was removed, and also newly allowed were vampires, ghouls, and werewolf, which handled in the classic tradition such as Frankenstein, Dracula, and other high-caliber literary works written by Edgar Allan Poe, Saki, Conan Doyle, and other respected authors whose works are read in schools around the world. Zombies, lacking the requisite literary background, remained taboo, but to get around restrictions, Marvel in the mid-1970s called the apparently deceased mind-controlled followers of various Haitian supervillains Zuvembis, and the practice carried over to Marvel's superhero line The Avengers. When the reanimated superhero Wonder Man returns from the dead, he is referred to as a Zuvembi. And then there was Zombies in the Swamp Thing. And eventually, I believe, it wasn't until, things updated and changed, but it wasn't until 2001 that Marvel stopped submitting its comics to the CCA, the Comics Code of Authority, and subsequently established its own rating system. And as well, in the 80s and 90s, there was a breakaway from the Comics Code of Authority. In 1984, the Comics Code of Authority denied Swamp Thing the seal of approval. However, DC decided to continue publishing the title without the approval. So it kind of like people were like, you know what, we don't need the seal. We can just keep going. But yes. Fascinating. And this is just comic books, but I feel like it bears mentioning. All right. I'm going to bring on the next person if they're ready. Let me just double check. Hello.
Well, damn. You caught me completely off guard. For once, I was not going to talk about comics.
We don't have to. I just I meant to bring it up at the beginning of the stream, but I forgot. Can you introduce yourself and let us know what you would like to talk about in terms of a horror story that resonated with you as a queer experience?
Hi. May refer to me as Anna Marie, Bimbo Genius. Wonderful to meet the audience. In general, I'm a dipshit who just likes to read a lot of things and have a lot of opinions. The thing I wanted to talk about today was, I think I was going to talk about The Invisible Man, but then I realized way more interesting to talk about Rebecca.
Okay.
By Dame Daphne du Maurier.
Is it going to pop up when I search it? Yeah, there it is.
Yep. Just in general, it is a novel about a woman who gets married to a very rich man and just suffers in the disapproving shadow of his first wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's really interesting because of how everyone interacts with kind of their projection of Rebecca, who is the first wife that is now dead. One, spoilers for this book. Two, we're going to have to get in some weird conversations about Daphne du Maurier.
We love those.
Because she was somewhat openly bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go through her work and kind of her various like letters and such, you could make an argument that she was some case of possibly trans or gender fluid, but it's also a weird situation of, if I'm remembering correctly, her name is Vita Sackville West. She was an actress who dated both Daphne and Daphne's father, like within, not at the same time, but like was alive long enough for that to happen.
Yeah, that's still weird. Yeah.
And so I think it's very interesting that who Rebecca is seen as from the beginning towards the end of the novel is it's an interesting look at how Daphne saw herself, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
As she's introduced as being this very, like, the perfect British mid-1930s housewife, like, throwing all of these balls, making everything fun for all of just, like, people in general without any real consideration for her own interests. And the more it goes on, we learn things that, like, she actually slept with a lot of people, including her
first
own
wife?
cousin.
Ooh,
Yes,
wow.
Rebecca.
Wow. Spicy.
And told her husband to her face that she did not care about him or their relationship, and openly flaunted to him that she was sleeping with multiple people.
Mm-hmm. And yet he holds her in such high regards, which is fascinating.
Which is even more fascinating when we learn that he shot her dead.
Oh boy. Spoilers, I guess, for a book
Yeah,
that's...
I said there were going to be spoilers. Because she was suffering from cervical cancer, and this was her form of assisted suicide.
Wow.
And a lot of this is drawn from how Daphne, who came from an acting family, so she in Britain, so she was like decently wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
but married into like a military. Her husband was in the military for a very long time, and then she became like a proper dame. And so how she was portrayed to the public was very like, we have to be the stiff upper lip, even if we're being bisexual behind closed doors. I didn't really have a tied together thesis. It was something that came to me as I was sitting down and trying to think of things to talk about because I couldn't remember what I wanted to talk about when we first discussed this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this stream has been postponed a couple of times due to various reasons. Most belatedly, the community kind of exploded a little bit, but we're we're doing it now. I think, yeah, I think I remember you mentioning the Swamp Thing, or not the Swamp Thing. Wow, the Invisible Man, which are nothing alike. I don't know why I made that mistake.
Well, I mean, I could talk about Swamp Thing. I have his first appearance.
Do you want to? Because that gets a little, that goes places, interestingly enough.
I would offer to, but I am going to be so honest. I haven't really read a lot of Swamp Thing.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I limited experiences and exposure also. I just am aware of some of the more well known things that it touches upon. But I meant Invisible Man. I just misspoke.
Yes.
Did did you have anything you wanted to say about that one, or?
Uh, I absolutely can. Give me 2
Yeah.
seconds because I remember the Invisible Man's name, but I cannot remember his homoerotic love interest. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, take your time, take your time. We love homoerotic love interests in this story. In this story? In this yeah.
Here we go. Excuse me,
Oh
sorry.
boy.
There we go. Dr. Kemp, that's his name. Womp womp. So a bit of context about what The Invisible Man is. It is a science fiction story by H.G. Wells about a guy who is revealed to be invisible and his plan to use terrorism to become ruler of the world. And that he does this by harassing one of his old coworkers who he intends to keep around as both a right-hand man and a lapdog. So
Mhm.
there's so much there. It has been a while since I've read it, so I am only giving like the bits and pieces of it, unfortunately. But I do find their dynamic interesting
Interesting is
because Kemp finds,
sorry.
by the way, the Invisible Man, his name is Griffin. Kemp finds Griffin like very pitiable, but also is scared of him.
Yep.
So I think there is an element to that. I don't have any way to look into if Wells was into men, but I mean,
You know.
crazy.
But sometimes I think that like I'll like read or I'll watch something and the guy is like he's never commented on having any interest in or like a woman and they've never commented on having any interest in the same sex. But sometimes I'm like what else could you have possibly else could possibly explain this? What happened to you? Who hurt you? Who did you hurt? You know?
Because the other thing that comes to my brain, the problem is it's not a horror story, it's more a psychological thriller, but
We can talk about that.
because that one I read a lot more recently. It's called Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Guy, that is his name, who meets Bruno while on a train from, I'm trying to remember because he's going from New York to a big station in Texas to go to his hometown. And Bruno is also from New York and is going from New York to Santa Fe because he's on a trip and he's going to see his mom there. And Bruno proposes the idea that Bruno kills Guy's current wife, who had a baby out of wedlock
Mm-hmm.
and is trying to divorce him over it.
Mm-hmm.
If Guy is willing to kill Bruno's father.
Interesting.
And seeing as they are complete strangers before this point, and thus have no relation to each other's murder victims, no one is going to suspect them, right?
Yes,
Guy
exactly.
thinks that this is crazy, does not want to be involved. And then a few days later, Bruno does it anyway.
Oof.
And gets, like, not a thrill, but a morbid fascination out of it. And then spends the entire rest of the book just stalking Guy, hounding him, threatening to tell his like new fiance and later wife about this deal that he never actually agreed to until Guy just finally caves.
And kills Bruno's father.
Mhm. Using the plan that Bruno has like written down like 17 times, has it set to a T. Until the guilt eats that guy and he gives up to this private investigator who is looking into the death of Bruno's father. But Bruno does everything with not the intention, but like almost every interaction they have, Bruno tries to isolate Guy as much as possible. Starting with how they meet.
Mm-hmm.
And just becomes so fixated on him. In a way that I cannot describe as, you want to fuck him. Why are you going to such lengths for a random stranger? To the point that he broke into Guy's apartment like 3 times before Guy moved into his house.
And is this just in book form only currently?
No, there was a Hitchcock adaptation.
Okay. Oh, yes. What's your take on the adaptation?
I have not seen the movie, I've only read the book.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's Hitchcock. He's a good filmmaker, but I'm guessing that it's not super. It might take some liberties, I'm assuming.
And the way that you get into both characters' heads, sometimes multiple times in the same chapter,
Mhm.
it's so interesting. It makes me go feral.
I don't know. I love stories where a woman writes about two men that are weirdly obsessed with each other. It's like one of the best genres out there.
This is also the same woman that wrote The Talented Mr. Ripley, so
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
which I have not read, but I have heard of. So I'm also trying to think of horror that has intentional or not queer subtext. Dark Matter and I did finish reading Dracula last week.
Nice. Oh, is it subtext?
Side note, the entire third act, snooze fest. It
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. The build up that's interesting, so.
A different book I read by Bram Stoker that is The Jewel of Seven Stars has the same problem. Once he reveals the mystery, it loses, it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Like, everybody talks about like the subtext between Dracula and Jonathan. I don't think it's there. I think it's between all of the other guys. Fully believe Arthur, Seward, Quincy, they're in a weird polycule, and I love that for them. What else immediately comes to mind? I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm also having a bit of a weird day because I was at work when the big blackout happened. So,
The whole state blacked out, yeah.
briefly, and then the half, my side of the state was blacked out for a few hours. So,
That's insane.
and apparently it happened all across the country.
What the fuck? What is happening down there?
I don't know. Um,
Well, if you can't, if you don't have anything right off to say, I might ask you my sort of closer question for this one, which is, what does horror give us as queer people that other media doesn't?
the space to be ugly.
I like that. I like that.
To let us not only be uncomfortable with ourselves, but find ways to move through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I talked when I was doing the opening how we've gone from stories like Rocky Horror Picture Show, which was like this little tiny underdog in the 70s, to now we have shows like Steven Universe, where which is a children's show where basically the almost the entire cast is queer. And I think it's, I mean, like, look, I like that we have gay people and trans people and stuff in children's media. I think that's very invaluable. I was super excited about it. But I think that, like, there's a connection we have to the macabre and to the dark and to the gothic that, like, I don't think a lot of other genre fiction can quite capture.
Yeah, because horror is where we, even if we're not queer, it's just a space where we get to be ugly and to be comfortably uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I think that, like, because we are told by so much of the rest of the world that we are ugly and that there is something wrong with us, that horror, it kind of leaves that space open where we don't have to be apologetic for it.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, just, uh, I was, words. I found the thing that I was going to recommend, and then I realized that somebody had accidentally left something in it. So I guess I know somebody who checked this book out from my local library.
What did you want to recommend?
I now, to be fair, I have not read it yet, but I found the idea interesting. It is YA horror novel called Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about these two friends who one writes like fucked up fairy tales and horror stories, and the other draws them
Interesting.
until the drawings start coming to life out of their local woods.
I'm interested. I might, if there's a, I might listen to a audiobook if it has it for that one. All right.
Well, it's a very recent. It came out, I think,
Okay.
2020. So,
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to mention? Do you have any social media or anything that you want to plug?
uh, well, I'm still in the process of setting it up. Oh no, sorry, this book was published 2024, last year. Okay. Um, I'm still trying to get all the pieces in place, but I'm hoping that with the start of the new year, I can start a book channel on YouTube
Ooh.
where you all get to join me as I go over all the books that I have on my bookshelf, most of which were gifted to me and I haven't read.
Do you have a link to that?
Uh, I can get one for you in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just put it in the chat, or?
Yep. Yep.
There we go.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Always lovely to have you on.
It's always a delight to be here. Unfortunately, I didn't have anything coherent.
Yeah, today's been a day for you. I understand. I get it. Don't you worry.
Alrighty, well, everybody have a good night. I will be watching, so don't be mean. I am a building.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. I do not currently have anybody in line, but I was asked to answer the questions I had, which, and the two questions are: as a queer person, what's a horror story that resonated with you as a queer experience? And what does horror give us as queer people that other media doesn't? That one's a little bit rough for me because the way that I think I interact with horror, I don't think that I necessarily look at it in the same way. But since we were talking about Guillermo del Toro earlier, let's talk about Pan's Labyrinth for a second. Because it was one of my earliest horror films. And do I want to talk about Pan's Labyrinth, or do I want to talk about Silent Hill? We can do both. Let's do both. Let's do Pan's Labyrinth first, and then we'll do Silent Hill. I think I like got into them around the same time. So Pan's Labyrinth is about this girl who is sent to live in the countryside and then discovers sort of this world of fairies and has to go into this labyrinth and sort of prove herself, and then gets the power to essentially live forever. But it's kind of up in the air if this fairy tale world is in her imagination, or if there's something real going on, because at the end of the movie, like, she can't really enter that sort of fairy kingdom until she dies, and you could kind of see it as she's not being reborn, she's just going to heaven, or it's like the last neurons firing before she's gone. She's coming home, sort of a situation. So it's kind of sad, and that sort of classic Guillermo del Toro lure in the safety of darkness is very fascinating. You know what? I said that, like, I don't know what horror movie or horror story I could possibly relate to my queer experience. And then now that I'm talking about it, like 50 are occurring to me. So I think that was kind of my first, like, actual horror movie where I really related to the main character. I had a rough childhood, and like imagining that I could escape to this fairy tale world where everything would be better, I think is a pretty common experience for a lot of young queer people. And then in terms of Silent Hill. Now, admittedly, okay, so I think it was Silent Hill 1 because it was on the PS1 and it was really janky and there was a bunch of different discs. I didn't own it, but I think like either I was over at somebody's house. It was when I was really young, too young to be playing Silent Hill. I was over somebody's house, or my dad was borrowing his PS1, maybe a mix of both. But I do distinctly remember playing it. And then a few years later, when it came out, I ended up watching the movie. And then in my like late teens, early 20s, I played the games through, sailing the seven seas, because I didn't have access to a console at the time. And I actually am playing the remake of Silent Hill 2. I was doing that on YouTube. I think I might return to it because I haven't played it since I streamed it for my Halloween event. It's so fascinating the way that Silent Hill processes trauma through physical manifestations in the world around you. And again, Silent Hill is one of those things where it's not fucking subtle. Like, it's pretty, like, look at this weird, look at this thing. Jesus Christ. I find that James is a little bit more easier to figure out what's going on than Harry. 'Cause it's not really Harry's trauma that you're exploring in Silent Hill 1. It's Cheryl. And I really liked Silent Hill 3, and even Silent Hill 4 I think is super underrated. I guess it's people are kind of going back and saying like, yeah, it was always part of the core series, but I personally never understood why Silent Hill 4 got so much hate. I know that technically it doesn't take place in Silent Hill in and of itself, but when Silent Hill 4, when I played it, I was dealing with a lot of isolation, so I really liked this idea that the only way that this guy could escape his apartment was through this weird hole in his wall that would take him to all these like fucked up locations where there were monsters, and feeling trapped and isolated, and like all the locks across the door, and is like, I did put those there and I don't know how to get out. And you had the neighbors being like, where's this guy been? I played Silent Hill through like 1, 2, 3, 4. I played it through when I was really coming to terms with my gender and like finding my place in the world and processing a lot of trauma. So, it was very apt that I was playing it at this time. The movie doesn't do it justice. I'm hoping, because I think that there is a Silent Hill movie coming out now. And I'm hoping that it's kind of... Yeah, this is the one that came out in 2006. But I think there's an upcoming 2025. I think it's coming out in 2026. Return to Silent Hill. There we go. But I don't know if it's like a continuation of the movies or if it's like exploring the game world more. There was another Silent Hill movie that came out, and I remember watching it when it came out. Am I crazy? Like, there was another, like, Revelation? I'm crazy. Did I make up something in my head? Yeah, Silent Hill Revelation was released in 2012. Okay, that came out a lot later than I thought it did. Or a lot earlier than I thought it did, because I think I saw that one in theaters. Anyway, but now it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, it's like 13 years old. I was like, yeah, it just came out a few years ago. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't really reflective of Silent Hill and the original one. I say this to everybody, and I'm not the only one to say it, but if you want to watch a Silent Hill movie, just watch Jacob's Ladder. It's crazy. I don't even know how to talk about Jacob's Ladder. Because I was just like, what the fuck? It's something. It's like, if there was a scale and the butterfly effect was on one side and Donnie Darko was in the middle, then Jacob's Ladder would be way on the other side. They're like they're like occupying a similar space, but Jacob's Ladder and like Donnie Darko's crazy, in my opinion. Um, but Jacob's Ladder just goes like above and beyond how fucking weird it is. Yeah, it's based on part of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. An interesting it's an interesting movie. But if you like Silent Hill, you'll probably like Jacob's Ladder. When did it even come out? Because I think it inspired Silent Hill, not the other way around. Ba 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 ba. Give me a date, bud. 1990. Yeah. So it, and then Silent Hill. 1999. Yeah. So yeah, this one definitely preceded. I've never seen Repo the Genetic Opera. I think I almost did, and then I was like, I'm not into it. Who is that, by the way? Who is that? That's Tim Robbins. Okay. Anyway. Now, as for the second question, which is, what does horror give us as queer people that other media doesn't? And again, I've kind of alluded to this a couple times, but it gives us a space where we don't have to be apologetic and we can explore the things that disturb us. Oh, sorry, I just saw the thing pop up on the screen and it's like, oh, I forgot how much that movie freaked me out. Like, cause that's one of the things that scares me the most is like the concept of looking at something, and even if it's not real, like seeing something that is so horrifying that it drives me crazy. And I will never get back. I'll never be better. It'll like mess me up forever and I'll never recover from it. That's the thing that scares me, I think, the most. But anyway, yeah, I think what horror kind of gives queer people is like, regardless of if we're exploring the things that disturb us or the things that fascinate us, we don't have to make any sort of we don't have to ask for forgiveness if we freak somebody out. Because that's kind of expected of horror. Okay, no, we're gonna scroll down so I don't get scared again. Sorry to be a little baby. Silent Hill 2 is based on Crime and Punishment. Is it? Was that what it said up here? Oh yeah, here we go. The Russian novel Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, which I definitely didn't pronounce that right, but it's fine. Yeah. And film was inspired by David Lynch and paintings by Francis Bacon. Oh my god. If you have not seen Francis Bacon's paintings, they're crazy. Not Kevin Bacon, Francis Bacon. Look at this shit. These ones are my favorite. I can't remember what they're called, but it's like a triplicate series. Clearly inspired the story or like the video game Off, I think. Here we go. Here's all three of them. Oh, look how freaky it is. I love it. Francis Bacon, I believe, is also... Let me double check. I think... Hold on. Not the same guy. It is not. I'm pretty sure he was gay, wasn't he? Am I like misremembering that? Yes. Bacon was a shy child and enjoyed dressing up. This and his effeminate manner angered his father. A story emerged in 1992 of his father having had Bacon horsewhipped by good grooms. He was often ill as a child, suffering from asthma. Yeah, he did a lot of cross-dressing. Bacon dressed as a flapper with an Eton crop. Beaded dress, lipstick, high heels, and a long cigarette holder. Later that year, Bacon was thrown out of Strafford Lodge following the incident in which his father found him admiring himself in front of a large mirror wearing his mother's underwear, which is also like, there's some gender things going on too, I think. He read a lot of Nietzsche. Ooh. Had a weird complex, so... He did stay with a few women, but I'm pretty sure, like, the agreement is that this guy was gay. Yeah, Eric Hall, his patron and lover, is in an often torturous and abusive relationship. Yes. So, gay or bi, perhaps, but I'm pretty sure the consensus is that he was gay. Anyway, I love his paintings. And he's a fascinating artist, and like the way he renders the human form in such twisted ways is just, yeah, it's so interesting to me. Anyway, so it's interesting that Silent Hill was influenced by Francis Bacon and Andrew Wyeth. I'm not familiar with Andrew Wyeth. But show me your paintings. Let's look at some Andrew Wyeth paintings. Ooh, these are good. Yeah, no, I can definitely see how this would influence Silent Hill. It's good. This sort of grunginess. Yeah, I can see it. And you look at Silent Hill 2. I'd like to see the original version. Here's some of the stuff in the original. Because this is the remake, which looks amazing and I'm loving. But this is the original. This is one of the cinematic shots. Again, here's the newer one. But yeah, I'm very happy with the. I just got to the other world is where I'm at right now, and it's good. This looks like the original. Yep, this is the original. So you can see Wyeth's influence in how textures are rendered and lighting is set up, which I really appreciate. I think that looks like is that original? Or is that something in one of the remakes? I don't know. Here's more of the those oh boy, early 2000s PlayStation graphics. Ugh. And this is just how the new game looks in gameplay. I'm so impressed, and I'm also impressed that my computer can run it. 'Cause she's an old girl. Upgraded her, but she's an old girl from 2012. Anyway, actually, it's probably this is the computer that I think I first played Silent Hill on. It's been around for a while. Anyway, John Waters. Nobody did bring John Waters up, or Serial Mom. Spaghetti, if you want to come in and talk, you can. If you're able to, you know. You don't have to if you don't want to, but you can if you want to. Yeah, I don't have enough to say. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. All right. Well, I think that we're probably gonna tie it off then. I feel like this is a pretty good place to end the stream. All in all, you know, I think that horror offers a space, oddly enough, despite it being so frightful. Horror offers a safe space to express ourselves without having to apologize for being ugly or weird or strange or frightening. We can also explore the things that frighten us, because often the things that frighten us intrigue us and excite us as well. And I think living in a world that pushes back against the other in terms of like sexual desire and identity so much, fear is built up around those identities and desires, to the point that it can make us feel like monsters. And because we're pushed to feel that, it feels sometimes like the stories that picked monsters more overtly are sometimes the only thing that we can really relate to. Now, I have plugged this video multiple times, but I will do it again. In my last video, Elevated Grey Morality and What We Can Learn from Dark Fiction. Love if you could go give it a watch after this stream if you haven't already, where I talk a lot about this sort of thing in depth. Like, what do we get out of it? Like, why it's so important to us and why so many people are drawn to it. Not specifically queer people, but just people in general. I think everybody likes horror, but I think as queer people, we have an interesting and unique relationship to it. But in any case, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my patrons Harvey, Hummus, Mohammed, Weeskilly, Fiona Boggle, Space Frog, Somnium Astra, Dylan Rune, and Zephyr, Vexfidel, Elias, Tavistanian, Swampling Lover, Shira Veed, Garden, Not, and Daily. And a special thanks to my staff, Mother Squeakers, Boggle, and Sparrow. If you would like to support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, you can find a link in the description down below and get access to my Discord server. And Tiefling level and above gets a place in the credits. If you would prefer to donate an amount of your choosing for one time only, you can also find my Ko-Fi in the description down below. My Ko-Fi donations are going towards a trip where I have my dear bestest friend Mothra over next summer, so I would appreciate any and all donations you can swing me there. And if you want me to grant you membership to the Discord after donating to Ko-Fi, I will absolutely give it. Just make sure you leave your Discord handle in a DM so that I can invite you. And let me see who's streaming right now. And I'll send you on your way. If anybody is. Because sometimes not. Who's still streaming, folks? Customization. Let's go. Ooh, Markiplier's streaming. I mean, like, I don't think he's gonna give a shit if I, like, you know, that's not gonna really affect him, but Markiplier's doing some Honest Annis. So I'll send you guys over there. Everybody have a good night and bye-bye.